Welcome back to Barking Points Memo, brought to you by Dr. Buttblast's Anal Fire Sauce, a brand with dignity. I'm Axel, here of course with...
Hey, it's Linistopheles. I have walked the decrepit halls of the hot sauce castle, and let me tell you, we need to stop letting straight people make hot sauces.
Or just naming them
is
maybe the problem.
Hi, it's me, Sahoni, and I'm 100% in agreement. But I'm also, particularly with the making thing, because like so much of hot sauce that you see it's a food challenge where the whole point is to make it as spicy as possible without any consideration for flavor.
Yes. Yeah. It is a sort of aggressive way of interacting with food, and like
it's a game of chicken but doesn't taste good at all.
I think it would be it's gentle. I guess truck nuts.
Right. Yeah. It is
Epicurean truck nuts.
There you go.
Well, there's the title.
That's the earliest title I think we will ever have had.
I mean, yeah, like if on like the Mohs scale of straightness, a 10 is truck nuts. Uh-huh. Like a 5 is aggressively hot sauce that has a name like the devil's burning cock or whatever.
No homo though.
No, absolutely not.
It is the ASTO rating system. Are straight people okay?
It starts at
with
no.
With the new ASTO system, you can determine how fucked straight society truly is.
It starts at a 1, which is just like
pointed at any sitcom written in the 90s, and it'll go to 11.
What do you mean any sitcom written in the 90s? Fucking the 2.5 Men guy still has a job.
Oh.
Yeah.
CBS is doing everything in its power to kill comedy.
Well, see, they go to a level of 10. I think Friends honestly goes to 11 for me. I don't know. I think maybe I just have heavy resentments about that show.
I see your Friends, and I raise you Last Man Standing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot. You're right. I forget that exists, and that is my bad, honestly.
No, that's your good. That's your good.
that is my right as a human being.
And
I get to choose to forget that Tim Allen still exists.
Yeah, you can, and that's it's a right that we should all exercise. But like, to be fair, Friends did have a lesbian wedding.
Yes, it did. It did. Like an unironic lesbian wedding.
Yeah, it wasn't ironic. It was heartfelt and caring.
And they got Newt Gingrich's queer sister, I believe. I don't know. I didn't watch Friends. Uh-huh. I just watched an episode of Matt Baum's Culture Cruise about Friends.
So basically, much like having to look at a basilisk, you have to do it indirectly.
Yes.
This is the part where I say that I've played 3 different Friends trivia games and have won them.
Honestly, Sahoni, chase your bliss.
This has nothing to do with with a love of Friends, and has everything to do with I keep
syndication.
Just TV, it goes into the brain and doesn't leave.
Yeah, I call that syndication, really, because it is just always played in the background. It just sticks in there.
Oh no,
whether you like it or not.
This was like a thing that me and my mom used to do together because it was like a bonding thing that we could do even though we were apart. However, it's still in there.
Yeah.
See, you want to know what that was for me and my parents?
What?
WB shows like Everwood.
Who?
We would watch that shit together.
Tell me your opinions on One Tree Hill.
We didn't watch that. We only watched, I think Everwood was the only one of those WB shows we ended up sticking with.
I'm trying to think of the first show that my family and I all watched together that wasn't the parents just watching a kid show.
Or The Next Generation.
I hate to say that I think it was Joan of Arcadia.
That's
I remember watching that with them too. Yeah. What a weird show that was.
It's gone in phases with my mom based on like what's on air, and also kind of what I could get away with when I wasn't living with her. But it was X-Files, Friends, and then Supernatural, and we haven't found something to replace Supernatural yet. And as we all know, my mom is now a somewhat known Supernatural fanfic author.
Wow, Sahoni, I didn't know you came from royalty.
I know.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, my connection to Samuel Clemens looked like crap. Thanks, Sahoni.
I don't know if like this ranks above or below me being related to the guy who wrote the Beverly Hillbillies TV theme.
Wow.
Cultural royalty now.
I'm not even. This is not with any irony or shade or anything. That's just kind of cool. Like both of those facts, just kind of cool, kind of rad.
I have a family that's deep into Nashville. It is basically all I'll say on that.
Fair.
It's weird. It's like, sadly, like a lot of the shows that they watch and I watch, I never ended up watching them at the same time with them. Like they used to love watching the next TNG, Star Trek, and I was a little bit too young to be able to kind of get into it when it was first airing because I was like, kindergarten, early elementary. So I think when I watched, I looked up at one time and I saw Wesley Crusher getting stabbed through like the chest or something. And I was like, oh my god, I can't watch this. And I stayed away from it.
Ironically, that was to the joy of every TNG fan.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. But I mean, as a small child, just, that's your exposure to the show is the one that's closest in age to you.
Yeah.
Getting, stabbed.
Just being mutilated.
Yeah. Like that was like, yeah. So, but like, I kind of wish I had a chance, because, my mom really loved this show called Freaks and Geeks, and I heard really great things about it, and I never got a chance to watch it.
It is streaming on a lot of platforms, and
that's what put it into my mind is that I never got. But she's, sadly has already passed now. But I remember that one as being one of hers that she ended up really liking, but mostly because there's this one moment where after the bullies, beat up these kids, the kids went like, "Wait a minute. I'm still alive." And that was like an aspect that she kind of really liked as a lesson as well.
You know what? You should give it a try. It's really worth watching. I think you might get something out of it.
Yeah. It is also really it's also a neat show to watch because so many people from it went on to do other things.
Exactly.
It's one of those shows. I mean, like, it was at least partially created by Judd Apatow back when Judd Apatow was like kind of worth it.
Yeah.
Before he was making things too long.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like half of Judd Apatow's normal cast comes from that show as well.
Absolutely. And
his ensemble.
Yeah. And all of those people have gone on to do their own things, for better or worse. But I kind of sat down and watched it. It was kind of one of those things where I was like, fine, I'll finally do it. But I was surprised by how much I actually genuinely enjoyed it.
See, it's on my homework list of shows to watch because my brother wants me to watch Bridgerton, so I have to sit down and do that at some point too.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I've heard good things.
Okay, well,
it sure is a challenging piece of media that exists in our current zeitgeist.
It is.
Gotcha.
It's Riverdale, but with fancy shirts.
Oh, okay. So, Riverdale. Oh no.
But with less sort of like supernatural stuff.
Wait, when I'm thinking River. Oh, I was thinking. Oh, sorry. I was thinking about a British. Never mind. Okay, no. Okay, River. Sorry, I was thinking about Something Dale, which is a different British long-running TV series, which is like a soap opera thing where it takes place in the country and where like cars and houses explode and it's just, oh my god. Sorry, but you're thinking about the Archie thing, right?
Yes.
Right. The edgy Archie.
Yeah.
Speaking
anyway,
of, I did see screenshots of the new CW
Oh yes, we have all seen the new Powerpuff.
Did you hear? I do not know if this is a shit post or an actual thing, but I saw being passed around that the son of Mojo Jojo will be a character that one of them will have a relationship with, and I'm just okay.
God, they really are just so pat with these plot lines.
Okay, yes, they are. My only small, tiny defense is that putting these plot lines in the absurdity of a live-action Powerpuff Girls TV show where they are disaffected 20-somethings, like, hits me in a really weird and specific humor place. I don't know if it's a healthy humor place, by the way.
It's definitely
I just know that it hits me there.
It's definitely
it's
like
on a
Mad
razor's
TV.
edge between working and not working in a, like, there has to be some meta level in which it works, but if it strays from that by being too sincere, it will look stupid. And it's really hard. It's a razor's edge between brilliance and stupidity here.
It's one step away from a Mad TV sketch, and we should all just admit it.
It really is. And choosing Mad TV over other sketch shows, spot on as well. It is 100% Mad TV.
Well, how
energy.
many do you really have to pick from? What? Like Mr. Show, SNL, Mad TV,
Kids in the Hall, In Living Color, Black Lady Sketch Show, The Big Queer Sketch Show,
Royal Canadian Air Farce.
I mean, like, there's a melange of sketch shows. Astronomy Club.
What was the Ben Stiller one called?
The Ben Stiller Show.
Okay, it was just Ben Stiller. Okay.
Great. Good and great.
Good. So,
like I said, TV goes into the brain, it doesn't leave.
Well, speaking of things that go into the brain and forever alter its chemistry, we have a barking point from last week about totally super real drug stories that are actually happened for true. So, first, from Inordinate Fondness at Six Armed Sweater. Don't do estrogen, folks. I took one pill, and the next thing I knew, my bed was covered in plushies, and I had 3 girlfriends. It could happen to you.
I've seen it, and quite honestly, I wish more drugs had such positive side effects.
Yeah, I want to see the VH1 behind the music of this one.
Wow,
which band
it really improved at the end.
Yeah, this one really took a turn I wasn't expecting. So, next we got a story from Dumpster Diving in the Trash Can of Ideology at Tekel Griff. I'm not proud of it, but here's my drug story. During Further Confusion 2016, I stumbled across a young Hollywood producer at the hotel bar who had gotten into the fandom for reasons that I no longer remember. One thing led to another, and once we were back in my hotel room, he offered to do a few lines of cocaine with me. I never had the stuff before, but it was Hollywood by proxy, and I figured one line couldn't kill me. The rest of the con is a blur, but I do remember 3 emails sitting in my inbox when I got off the plane home. The first email was from one of the con's charity that year, NAMI Santa Clara. The email said that while they appreciated my views on the need to abandon person-first luggage, my next lecture on the subject should involve fewer uses of the phrase cock-fucking ass gliders. The second email was a bounce notification telling me that I had misspelled the address for an email to Donald Trump that consisted of me repeating the phrase piss tape at least 500 times. The third email was from CBS telling me that while they liked the pilot I sent them and would probably be picking up the show, Frankie Muntz was too old to convincingly portray a young Sheldon Cooper. Was it Frankie Muntz or Frankie Muniz?
I assume it's Muniz.
It's spelled Muntz. I'm not crazy, right?
No,
I think it's
internationally famous TV actor Frankie Muntz.
Yeah, I remember him in Big Fat Liar with Amanda Buns.
Amanda Buntcake. Anyway. So, look forward to our barking point that will be happening at the end of this. Oh my god, I don't want it. Luno will have something to say about it, but anyway, let's get into our topics for this week, which are boy, everything's not great. Let's start off with the one that I title, This Just In, All Cops Still Bad. So, basically around the country, cops are once again demonstrating ACAB in all forms, whether it is reports of them using toy guns to plant on people as a part of their actual training, various other training exercises getting exposed, actual murdering people at a traffic stop. No, it wasn't a traffic stop. Stopping someone for having expired tags on their license, even though there's supposed to be a notification that, like, hey, people aren't able to get these tags from the DMV right now. Like, there's delays and shit. But hey, let's just pull someone over and escalate it into a death. We have the trial going on for. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. We have what was it? It's the George Floyd trial, right? No.
It is the trial
for George Floyd's death. I just can't remember the name of the. I can't
Derek
remember the
Chauvin.
name. That's it.
Yeah.
So there's that going on, and then of course there is right now a series of reforms being pushed called the George Floyd Act.
Well, not just
keyword
pushed,
here is reforms.
Yeah, so not just pushed, this was passed. So the article that I am pulling from here, and I don't have too much to add to this article. It's incredibly well written. It's worth just reading. We will link it in the show notes. I just wanted to bring it to light.
Yes.
At least within this space. So, it's about a month ago that it was written, March 4th of 2021. The George Floyd Act wouldn't have saved George Floyd's life. That says it all, by Derica Purnell. Mm-hmm. And this is from The Guardian. And like the short version of the article is it outlines the fact that the sort of new regulations against police within the George Floyd Act have nothing to do with the things that killed George Floyd. Mm-hmm. Like beyond structural racism and police brutality, like it bans chokeholds. A chokehold was not used on him. He had a knee put on his neck for 8.5 minutes.
And even if it was banned, that doesn't mean that they won't do them anyway.
Right. Also, banning just one type of violent act is not that is a slap on the wrist.
Yeah, I'm very much gonna kind of point out how the police mentality works as someone who works around a lot of police on occasion. And let's face it, a lot of police, not just police, though, I don't want to single out police because this applies to a lot of firemen and a lot of like EMTs as well, see themselves as like action movie heroes in search of a movie. Mm-hmm. And they might put on airs about it, but how they talk about things and like their motivations and how they want to go about things and how they need to work around kind of rules and regulations very much play into that.
Would you say it's like the fantasy of being like a renegade?
Yes, it absolutely is. It plays into kind of America's love for the iconoclast and and all of that. And I've talked about this before, not necessarily in context of police violence, but when you layer this on top of just structural racism and everything else, that is how police violence happens. And how all these cops conveniently turn off their dashboard cams or their or the body cameras that they have on, because those things don't prevent violence either. No. They don't even ensure that the violence that does happen gets punished.
Well, here, and the thing is what happens when it goes to trial? Or does it even go to trial?
Yes, exactly. And that's very much what I want to talk about. Like, these are half-hearted measures to solve a problem that needs to be solved in a very different way, which is, it's not necessarily police reform. It's defunding police, putting money into essential services in other places.
It's social service reform.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
on a fundamental level. Like, generally when people ask, like, hey, what are you going to replace police with? It's like, social workers. Like, that's not hard. Like, it's a really easy answer. Like, there's different types of social workers to counsel for all different types of problems.
But I also want to talk about kind of how, again, how a lot of this police training kind of works is that they tell people the absolute worst case, most ridiculous scenarios that could happen, and say this could happen to you. Don't laugh. And here's a guy who got killed by a gun that looks like a super soaker.
Well, or they have the standouts of a child with a gun, and they have the no hesitation.
Yep.
Training.
Yeah. They sure do.
You missed the pregnant lady, you missed the baby. Oh, terrible job.
Yeah, it is that cartoony.
100%. There's some very famous videos of the police training talking about like wolves, dogs, and sheep, and that like you getting the police training or the dog protecting the sheep from the wolves. Which, sorry, Sahoni.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's like
I'm sometimes a wolf.
It's just like it's all the language around it feeds into, as Sahoni said, that sort of hyper engorged version of American individualism, the sort of main characterism of it all.
Yes, it is very, again,
protagonist syndrome.
Yes, it is very much an example of protagonist syndrome again, but it is hyped up to this violent state because we have armed them and told them that they are the last line of defense.
Yep.
Yeah, the problem is that we are the ones telling them this. They are not just telling it themselves. The system is supporting them in that by giving them qualified immunity, by giving them a gun, by never taking them to court, if they do anything wrong, by covering for each other all the time.
And this is why we talk about kind of, this is, again, this is how racism actually hurts people a lot of the time. It's not just guys saying slurs on the street, though there are plenty of cops that have no hesitation doing that. It is...
As if you have recourse.
Yeah. It is, again, it can be people who tell themselves that they're very good acting on unconscious bias. It can be people who are... it can be laws and regulations that are unfairly and unjustly target specific individuals.
And it's why you see in so many of these neoliberal to conservative acts that are trying to stop like the one the George Floyd Act, for instance, where it's like seeks to ban racial profiling. First off,
how?
Yeah, like that is
happen?
That's an unpoliceable thing. And you see overhaul qualified immunity for police, which is great. We're going to get to that with New Mexico, but all of these are things that are also only useful after there's a body count.
Yep.
This is not stopping the problem. This is just giving some weird lip service recompense to the problem.
Well, what it is actually it's worse. It's actually giving them a larger defense against public blowback and oversight, because you're just saying, well, hey, we put all these measures in place, so
it's all, and the way the cops see it is more kind of magic words that they have to wiggle around to do what they think they have to do.
It's new performative gestures they have to go through. That's it. That's why I hate slogans. They're really easy for anybody to just stick on and, not mean. It just becomes the thing you have to say to get out of that moment.
Yep.
It's true.
So,
but yeah, the I'm gonna very quickly, not summarize, but sort of encapsulate the rest of the article.
Oh yes,
which
please.
Again, I encourage everyone to go and read. But Purnell gets into the fact that Floyd was also probably not in the moment racially profiled, because the whole thing was about having the cops called on him for a counterfeit $20 bill, which speaks more to the fact that perhaps Floyd needed money, needed access to cash so he could survive, versus any sort of actual like intense crime happening, which there never was in the first place. And Purnell breaks down really directly the actual, which, speaking to the choir kind of stuff, like all of the stuff that like, here are the reasons, here are the things that actually would need to be reformed to reform this situation. And once again, the bills that come up don't do it.
Yeah, a lot of police are just looking for an excuse.
The problem is that it's the institution itself, and no one in charge wants to actually do anything about that.
It's mealy mouth.
It feels like
gestures.
feel-goodism.
Yeah, no, they feel like they've accomplished something, but what they've accomplished is a jack and shit. Like this, what is this act? There's nothing that this actually...
Worst cocktail ever.
Yeah, this doesn't build towards anything. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like, this might save someone down the road, sure. But it shouldn't have
it's incoherent.
It shouldn't have to get to the point where that is what saves a person.
Exactly.
Yeah. It shouldn't have to require these kinds of, like, extra little safety patches to make this function.
Yep.
Exactly. And so, I mean, yeah, to that end.
Yeah, so to that end, so let's say you do find yourself antagonized by police for a variety of reasons, just or no. You might find yourself waiting for trial and held in containment for, in some cases, it appears possibly 5 years. So an article from fox2now.com from Clayton, Missouri, there was a review of the St. Louis County Jail finding hundreds of people waiting at least a year or more for their trial, including one that has been waiting for more than 5 years. So they found out of 1,003 Justice Center residents, 319 were waiting for more than 1 year for their trial. 127 have been waiting for more than 2 years.
And I think like this also folds back into kind of what we were talking about before when it comes to these things. Like, these people have the right to a swift and fair trial by their peers, supposedly. But that relies on the honor of the people who will enforce this.
Absolutely. There was a recent episode of, I believe it was the podcast Criminal, which was about a woman who spent her most of her life doing spiritual advising on death row. And she we're not talking about death row, we're just talking about waiting for trial, right? Which is also worth pointing out that like a jail is usually a local government funded place. It is usually even less it is usually not meant for long stays.
It's not.
No, these aren't.
Yeah, these are intentionally not made for long stays. There's a very big difference between a jail and a prison, and these people are being kind of kept even more inhumanely.
Well, specifically, like in this article, they say like one of the people that works there really prefers the term resident because they're not inmates, because none of these people have actually been convicted of anything.
Exactly. And yet
we're holding them as if they are. I mean, there are plenty of cases, not just in this area, that we've heard of this. In New York, there was someone who was accused of stealing a backpack and died in waiting because they were held for so long and in such terrible conditions.
Yeah. And it is I don't know. Sorry,
there's not much to say
I had a
to
thought
this.
I was going with.
It's kind of horrifying.
It's just it's one of those things that I think is worth being, of course it's worth being aware of, right? Not just like I think that, it is worth being aware of, the end. It is worth being loud about. If you live in St. Louis or Missouri, like, this is worth making a stink about at whatever levels you need to.
Agitate.
As Sahoni said, like, even if someone is to come in contact with the carceral system or the judicial system or the legal system, respecting people's like basic human dignity, like the fact that you are alive and thusly you deserve to be treated as a living, breathing human being. The fact that is so, like, it's just so...
Well, I mean...
it's so, like, 8th millionth down the list of the things that they get to be.
Well, again, like, I think laws in general largely rely on... They are a promise. They are words that... and at the end of the day, them being upheld relies heavily on the honor of the people that are supposed to uphold them.
Absolutely.
And the American justice system has proven time and time again that is a crapshoot.
Yeah, it is unwilling and unable to be internally consistent in any way, shape, or form. I mean, it's been kind of well documented that we have a bifurcated justice system in which, people above a certain, social status in life essentially are untouched or get excuses endlessly made for them, especially also along racial lines as well, not just on economic class. So, there are quite a few things that need to be kind of uprooted fundamentally rather than patched over.
To loop back, so I finish the thought, because I think it is still relevant when we were talking about the carceral system in America.
Right.
The woman from the podcast who was doing all of the sort of like spiritual advisory work with these men on death row was very blunt and said in a way that I just never heard crystallized in that way, that the American oh my god, why am I losing the words I need? Death penalty, there we go.
Yeah.
Like the American death penalty, just the idea of it in general, and then the prison system that funnels people towards it, is just like a form of state-sanctioned human sacrifice.
Yeah.
The end. Right? Because we do not treat them as anything other than a sort of statistic that we can say we did a good job doing justice, which we didn't. No justice is served.
They become quote unquote proof of the effectiveness of their, it's like, well, you can't see any bears around, so this bear repelling rock works. In their case, it's, see, we found all these criminals, therefore we're doing a good job of keeping people safe.
It's just a fucking hellish, terrible system. I am not saying that in a sort of nihilistic, do not care way. It's just like, it fucking is.
Yeah. Well, there are some things that are being pushed for, as we have alluded to in New Mexico. While qualified immunity is still currently a federal issue, it's weird time where states' rights are being put to something good. New Mexico, along with Colorado, have put forward and passed measures that essentially end qualified immunity, although each state's is a little bit different. Colorado specifically, I think, is for cops being able to use qualified immunity as a defense, versus the New Mexico one is for all government workers. Not just police.
Yeah, and I mean that's very much I think it's good on the whole.
Yeah.
This is something that actually does have some sort of like measurable effective change.
Well, it's really weird because like Americans for Prosperity also joined in on this, along with the
Weird.
ACLU, Ben and Jerry's, the Innocence Project, the National Police Accountability Project, the Institute for Justice were all a part pushing this bill.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that were pushing for this bill. I'm sure some of their motives are not the best.
Not great.
But
it got done.
But it got done. And the thing is in case you're not aware, this is very much something that police like to hide behind when police violence is found and proven. Qualified immunity basically says they cannot be held liable in civil suits for doing their job. And this is basically a measure that says that you can't find justice in any form. Because even if you can't get justice through, like, criminal court, there is the hope that you might be able to be paid reparations in some way.
Or also civil litigation, too.
Yes. And this qualified immunity basically was a nice, convenient way to shut all of that down.
For the cops, that means.
Yeah, for the cops.
Yeah, it's that whole, like, people holding up their hands going, but the job is so hard.
I feared for my life.
I'm going to point out that post office workers die more than cops.
Yep.
Yes. I mean, also, if you look internationally, like, our police are very bad at actually solving crimes. Like, we have Keystone cops, we don't have cops.
Yeah, our solve rates are non-existent, basically.
Yeah. Not to say that the police in other countries are great, but, even by that standard, just holding them to their own standard, they suck at their job.
Right, yeah.
God, imagine
even if we measure them again.
God, imagine if we, like, defunded them and put those resources in other places, then we could concentrate on getting cops who could actually focus on doing that.
Absolute conjecture.
Yeah, I know.
Ugh. I mean, like, but it is good to see that states are taking up the mantle where the federal government is failing. Not that states are any more real than a country is.
Well, yeah.
But, like, it is good to see that the groundswell and, like, the change is happening.
This was very much one of those stated goals of the divest movement, which has been very concrete and getting results in a way that a lot of movements don't get to be.
Yeah, it is. They have. It's not like other movements don't have, like, concrete things, but like the defund movement in a lot of places has really put boots to the ground and also just, like, shown what they would, like, not just what they would do, but then, like, they just do it.
Well, what they're doing is effectively chipping away, at the protections that the police have in our society. And that's a way of starting to then being able to take them down. You have to kind of start that way. One of the things I found really kind of funny is the idea that, like, the opponents of this stuff, one of their big things that they often use as their defense is that, like, well, if you pass this, there's going to be so much costly litigation. And my thing is, like, well, why would that be, huh? Why would there be a tidal wave of so much litigation? Why? What could possibly lead you to believe that might be an issue?
It would be I hate to say akin to, but, like, it has like an energy of if a restaurateur kept getting away with not being, like, inspected because, like, well, but you wouldn't want to, all of the refunds we'd have to give. Excuse me.
Well, think of all the people who will be heartbroken that their favorite restaurant turned out to suck. Gordon Ramsay came here and he tried to fix it. We are a landmark.
Oh my god, I have been watching Master Chef. Well,
oh yeah,
because I've been using Luno's Hulu.
yeah. Hey,
I heard he's actually very
more than
delightful in the MasterChef Junior stuff. He's very good with kids, apparently.
That's not on Netflix, but I do have American MasterChef, and I do not know how old this thing is, but there was this one chef, and I have never hated a person on a reality TV show more than this little shit. I swear to God, he was an 18-year-old like New Yorker, and he had he sounded like Trump, no. He was basically like a rich like trust fund kid who was like, I know how to cook food because I have eaten at the best restaurants in the world and I made it at home. That's why I deserve to be Master Chef. And I just like
to have the
every time he opened his mouth, like you could see a pulsating red hat materialize onto his head.
like a force ghost over his head.
Yeah, it's just being like it's way before
I like
all of
eating
that.
food, therefore making it must be just as easy.
Well, I mean, he could make food. I'm not gonna lie. However, he was such like just a miserable, horrible person. Like when he got kicked off the show, this is what happened. He got kicked off in favor of like a single mother, and he was like, well, she needs that more than me. I'm gonna be fine. Good for her. I'm glad. And then he like named other people on his team and said, I hope this person, this person, this person, and this person does well. And this person, this person, this person, I can't wait until you're eliminated. And it's very noticeable that the people that he picked out as for I can't wait until you're eliminated are the people of color on his team.
Couldn't guess why.
And how they cheered when he got sent home.
Good. Oh.
Like
yes.
I have never hated a person on a reality TV show more than this.
I feel that. I'm like, I feel like I've probably run into someone like that, but like that sounds like the sort of person that you're just like, fucking, I hope.
Yeah, like there.
I hope one day I.
Well, and also
I hope one day I turn the episode on and you're gone. You're just gone.
Like he made a French recipe for them, and like Gordon Ramsay asked him, "Have you ever been to France before?" Which that's a reasonable question for an 18-year-old, and he said, "Of course I've been to France."
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Like, it doesn't take much for you to, like, I understand that reality TV shows craft a narrative, but boy, he gave them a lot of material to work with.
Well, you know what the things is like when, you know, how they say like how he is like, I don't think he's necessarily instructed to act meaner to Americans. Like when when you watch the Kitchen Nightmares episodes versus, it's not just that he's nicer. The types of restaurants that he is going to and the types of problems that they have are way different. Like the American ones are not just like, oh, you know, this chef hasn't really figured out what he wants to do correctly, and you know, he hasn't focused his menu. Here it's like actual rats and people microwaving shit, and it's like, what the fuck?
I very much appreciate like Ramsay, at least on MasterChef. He even when he eliminates someone, he's like, please don't stop cooking, keep cooking.
Yeah, like it is. Ramsay is interesting as a TV persona because like all the major shows he's on show a different version of the Gordon Ramsay persona.
Yeah.
And like it is 100% true. The American Kitchen Nightmares, everything is heightened up. It is like full on tabloid TV where The British version is like he will have a serious but quiet talk with the chef in the fridge, like, hey, what are you doing? What's happening here? Talk to me. Like it is serious and he's stern, but like he's trying to meet the chef on their level versus like, you know, what are you, a crap sandwich? And then like, you know, all the way to like MasterChef Junior, where he is the most kind and gentle. Like he just wants all these kids to keep cooking forever, even if they get eliminated, much like on MasterChef, but even more so on MasterChef Junior, because I think beyond the fact that he's not like a great person, like I think he understands that like if you burn a kid's wonder early enough, it just kills it.
Yeah.
So even when they fail, you have to be like, it's okay, you did great, you're gonna learn from this. Because and he understands that, and that's good. He's an interesting personality.
Yes.
For TV.
Yes.
So few other people you get to see like all of these different facets that are like not untrue. They're just like, he is an actor as much as anyone else is. He's just playing himself many times over.
Oh sure, but the for me the point is that the stuff that he is that is thrown at him is at a different level too. Like type of, you know, bourgeoisie tyrants.
Fucking Amy's Baking Company, baby.
God.
Let's go home. It's Christmas.
Like, and we can't say that America's not full of those. One of them's in Congress.
Yeah.
And the thing is there are a couple episodes in American where you actually get to see his real personality, because like the people he approached actually aren't, you know, egotistical nightmares, but they're rare. And I think the problem is, I think it's just Americans. I think that might be the problem, is that our business culture here is also psychotic.
Yes.
Yeah, so. That and just like the sort of tone of American reality TV versus
that too.
Others.
Yes.
Not to say that others aren't like also really bad. Look at the fact that fucking Terrace House killed a woman. But like you know, our American reality TV is the morning radio zoo show of TV. It is loud and obnoxious, and there's too many audio cuts.
It really is.
God, is there anything...
Morning zoo crew.
Is there anything more overstimulating than like a Food Network competition show?
No, especially
depending
on
Twitch streamers, they might be. Depends.
You know what? I will posit one. No, actually, yeah. Food Network ones are the top tier, especially the ones that have a sort of like we exist in a sort of like early childhood board game void.
Yes.
Where it's like for Cupcake Wars or whatever.
I was just about to drop the or the seasonal
Cupcake Wars
or the seasonal Halloween Wars.
Yeah. I mean, like, look, they used to have competition. I don't want to be like, it was great back then. The competition shows on Food Network have changed in tone so much over the years.
They've become violence.
They used to. They become what?
They've become violence.
They honestly have the like. Because I remember there was an early quote unquote early one where it was always like doing sugar sculpture of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like in a theater with a live audience watching, and so it was just like people doing it there. It had a much more like it was a sweaty vibe, which sounds weird to say for sugar sculpture, but like it was sweaty in a good way. You were watching people do the fucking work, and like Cupcake Wars or whatever else.
The grocery games.
Yeah, like those have this like this overstimulated, but also like over-designed feeling to them. Like everything is just a little too much, both sensorily and mechanically.
Yeah.
It makes me think of when there was an explosion of game shows for kids in the 90s.
Yes.
And it has this almost Pee-wee's Playhouse aesthetic, where it works for Pee-wee's Playhouse because Pee-wee's Playhouse is a kids heightened reality thing with puppets and shit like that. That aesthetic doesn't work necessarily turned up to 20 and then shoved into a game show format.
No, absolutely. Like a lot of these shows, again, we're gonna go back to Cupcake Wars because I think it's the perfect example. It is get the picture like filtered through Instagram.
Oh my god, get the picture.
TV goes in, it doesn't go out.
Fucking. That was Mike O'Malley, right?
I think so.
That was Mike O'Malley before he did Guts, and when he wore very loud sweaters.
It was very much a cozy sweater TV show host thing before he went to Mo with the score Mo.
Oh man, if you want to see wild TV host like fashion choices, the guy that hosted Nick Arcade, the shirts that he would wear.
Yeah,
no. There is a top tier to this, and it is David Ruprecht, the host of Supermarket Sweep.
I was just about to say, it has to be Supermarket Sweep, and especially if you go to like late season Supermarket Sweep, where he just hates everyone on set.
What years would you say that? Like what like late when you say that, like what years would that span? Like
mid-90s?
Okay. That helps me picture it a little bit easier.
I have watched my fair share of episodes uploaded to YouTube because sometimes you need something in the background, and midday game shows are perfect for that.
Anything.
It's why they exist. It's why they came to be. It's the purpose they serve.
They are the meringue of TV. They're just
the nougat.
Anything that would be on Lifetime during the day.
Debt. God. The game also, if we want to talk about I don't know how we got here from qualified immunity.
Well, I don't really. I mean, it's fine. I mean,
yeah, you know, we I know. It's just like it hit me that we have entered a new region of talking. But there was a game show in the 90s called Debt. Where you were playing to have them pay off your debt.
Oh my god.
Oh, there's a recent one where they did that with the student debt thing.
That just feels bad. That just feels gross.
It was also hosted by hold on. Right. It was hosted by Wink Martindale. Consummate game show host Wink Martindale.
Yeah, that's why the name, everything. I'm just like, what the
I want to be clear at how incredibly disturbingly classist this show is beyond the concept alone. Everyone shows up wearing a sort of like, business casual affair. Wink Martindale wears a tuxedo.
Oh.
In every episode.
Oh.
That's some like Ben Stein's Money shit.
Yeah, but Ben Stein shit, but at least that was somewhat self-aware. This was like, this was earnest, and it was bad. And then, of course, if you win, you can, like, do one more question to double your money, and it's like, I hate betting your debt. I hate this. Anyway, that's all.
That's all.
I'll have to tell you about a reality or not a reality show concept worse than that later. Because we cannot get onto it on this episode.
That's fair.
It'll be a tantalizing tidbit for another episode.
I will exit the episode with it.
Good.
And let the audience, our audience, go, what?
Get ready for that, friends.
Well, let's move on to our next topic, which I have titled, "Oh dear God, you could see her ankles in that skirt!" Discord is creating the NSFW server designation, the Not Safe for Work designation, and blocking those servers from being accessed by its iPhone and iPad apps. This started when Apple suggested that their app should not be rated 12 to 13 and should instead be rated as 18 plus. Unfortunately for Discord, that makes them look less good because they are looking for buyers, one of which is Microsoft, who thinks human beings dirty and, is kind of possibly one of the pressure points for Discord to find the 18 plus brand unfavorable for them.
Well, a lot of this comes back to SOPA. Yeah, it's just basically we have litigated against sex workers so hard, especially in online spaces, and the supposed a chance to protect them, and it's had effects that are wide-reaching and kind of shitty, because it turns out you can't really remove humanity from sexuality.
You can't remove humanity from the humanities.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
you can't remove humanity from the internet as hard as some people try.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're having is and a lot of this pressure is mostly economical. I mean, the thing is advertising is the thing that undergirds so much of our goddamn economy culturally, whether it is online or, the media. And they have a set of ideals, what they think is acceptable and what they think that is, too lurid to associate with any brand that they want to do advertising for. So their puritanical, almost neo-Victorian views of, humanity and human nature ends up, censoring a whole bunch of the content that can be made or shown.
And even more than that, I think it's worth always pointing out that these platforms that end up being bastions for erotic subcultures, or the erotic art of subcultures. I don't want to say just subcultures that are only erotic. These bits of software or websites or whatever are totally fine with building up their user base with these people, and then the moment it becomes
an image problem.
Not just an image problem, but the moment where they could move it into capitalism. Oh, we can take a lot of money, sell this.
Well, yeah.
We need to fucking do some curb appeal.
Okay, because that's what I meant by the image problem, because when they want to sell themselves, they have an image problem to them because, we have adult stuff.
Absolutely. But even with that, they were perfectly fine.
Oh, yes.
And not just perfectly fine, but sometimes even happily sort of quietly courted these sort of groups of we're not going to tell you not to do these things. We're going to leave you alone. You can have, your Tumblr for your, I don't know,
candy gore or whatever. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, insert your thing here. But the fact that it is not even a thought to switch that, right? That the sort of people that grow your brand, that use your service, that are happy to invest in it and be really attached to it and use it for so many things are the first ones that you throw off when you want to make some money.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a tale as old as capitalism.
It's the same way with neighborhoods. The artists move there, because they are priced out of a lot of places. They make the area become, interesting by their presence, and then they themselves, the reason that people want to move there are the ones who get priced out along with the original residents.
Yeah, it's a lot of things that go into that kind of gentrification.
Yeah. I mean, that's one. I mean, I'm thinking in just.
But it is definitely it is part of the sort of whole way that shifts.
Yeah. Artists find a space. That space is co-opted. Then artists have to find a new space. Then that space is co-opted.
Yep. It was. I was having a conversation with some people recently about how if it wasn't for the fact that the interface, there is no good interface for it, we should all just start IRC channels again.
Oh my God.
Just start a server, but I would miss stickers and inline videos. And I hate to say that that's like a deal breaker because it's not, but like...
Well, for me, Discord has kind of filled that gap that IRC kind of was, because it has the whole text channels thing. And
I use stickers a lot. I miss it.
Oh yeah, stickers.
I would
like
miss
stickers.
Me too.
I put too much effort into making mine.
Even coming over to Discord and like chatting on here, sometimes I'm like, I fucking wish I could use a sticker.
Same, because like I've been very open about this, but I am autistic, and some days I'm not feeling as I guess textual. I was going to say verbal, but that's
verbal's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, you're accessing the same part of your brain for that.
Basically, I'm not feeling as verbal as I normally would, especially if I have been working on writing all day. Having stickers is
You've used up all your MP.
Yeah. Using stickers is a very good way for me to kind of, still be active and present and interact with people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it the the power of the image to evoke not just a word and a definition, but a whole feeling, like that is a tale as old as time.
Yeah, that's the power of icons. Well, let me just circle back.
The power of Pine-Sol, baby.
Yeah. Well, let's fold
baby.
back in real quick, because one of the things about the not safe for work designation that has kind of been a problem in the past for other platforms that have tried to create filters for it
you mean
is that
Tumblr?
How do you define not safe for work material? Because sometimes things that were marked for gay interest stuff was automatically considered not safe for work, despite it not being inherent. So you can often run into these types of problems when a platform, who gets to decide what is defined by that.
Yes, and I mean, that's definitely, I made the joke about Tumblr, but it's not just Tumblr, though Tumblr was guilty of it plenty of times. YouTube has a giant issue with this, and they get called out constantly about kind of queer content being, even if it's not inherently sexual, it being flagged as not safe for advertisers, or
well, just if it gets flagged as not safe for work, it means that teenagers and young people can't watch these videos about gay interest or anything like that.
Yes.
That culture becomes invisible to them.
Yep. There is just this weird puritanicalness in a lot of tech bros that I want to fight so bad.
Well, again, a lot of that is a huge
there with
incentive structure, because they want to have companies that will be appealing to be bought, because that's their whole life, is to build up something that will be bought from them now. So they then internalize the logic and the ideals of the people that are doing the buying. And the people doing the buying, well, their value system is a little bit off from, ours by a lot of degrees, including, as we have been using the word puritanical. They have a very puritanical view, and
I mean, and that, like, the puritanical view does not come as a surprise. Like, it should not come as a surprise, considering some of the other outward things that we see with tech bros, such as like biohacking and shit like this, where it's like over essentializing, like making everything as small as possible and as accessible as possible, but also as like few options as possible. It's this like over minimalization of everything.
Well, the obscuration of the inner workings of things with simplistic interfaces. So you can never access them or fix them yourself or learn how to solve any problems that you come across yourself.
And then, like, with all that, it's like if the people who are making those algorithms even just don't care about the thing, right? Not even just like have it out for it. If they just have no interest, it just gets thrown to the side as well.
Yeah,
it must be part of their interest. Yeah, it's just what.
Yeah, because, I mean, sometimes it's not someone actively trying to be bad. It's just, that is just their psychological blind spot.
And again, I very much want to bring up, again, the financial pressure a lot of these things face because of things like SOPA. Not SOPA.
Oh, yeah, the liability becomes, like, the giant issue.
Yes.
Yep.
And again, that becomes a financial thing.
And
So what we
because
have
of
is
that-
we have financial pressures and incentive structures that are trying to guide things towards a inhuman post board for the humanities, and it's just very it's counter to their own messaging. Because
and again, I want to point out that people that actually suffer from this are not just not safe for work artists, which do suffer from this, but also sex industry people of all kinds, and we're pushing them further and further and further into spaces where bad things could happen. Because they have no legitimate outlet now.
Well, it's like prohibition all over again.
Yeah, basically. It's...
We just aren't doing it in forms of laws, we're just doing it in a form of an economic incentive structure. Therefore, it appears natural.
And in forms of algorithms. And
yes.
Algorithms get to be that wonderful space of, like, it's too complicated for most people to understand, so they just accept it's doing the best it can.
Well, then also, what were algorithms? They're the replacement for hiring human beings, and the reason to pick an algorithm over people is the profit, So again, it all keeps coming back to, this is the financial incentive structure that creates this interlocking web of nightmares. So, do we have much else to say on this topic?
Nah, I'm good.
Nah.
Okay, I think with
do you want to go into bits?
Yeah, I think we're ready to kind of go into bits. Where did I put them? That was Alor.
Alor.
Thank you for Alor, because this whole discussion was something brought to our attention in our news and submissions channel, so you can do barking bits and points there as well. And sometimes if you have a story that you want us to check out, we'll turn it into a story we discuss en masse. So feel free to do that in our in our Discord. But you can also contact us on our Twitter. No ethical choices under social media capitalism, huh?
We still have to live in the world.
Yeah, we still have to live in the world. I know, it sucks. Let's actually jump into our sponsor section then, and then we'll get into our bits, which we have quite a few of for this ep. So, for those of you who are unaware, we have a Patreon. This brand new service that no one has ever heard of, patreon.com, sometimes pronounced Patreon, /barking points. And for those of you who give us $5 a month, we give you the chance to submit messages that we will read out to the audience. And if you want to use those, just go to the Patreon page for the current month and submit a comment, and there you go. Let's start with Nightly. Hi, y'all. It's that weird Sneptar who's obsessed with plants again. I mean, who isn't? Here to invite you to enjoy plants. Yay! Spring has already arrived in parts of the Northern Hemisphere, and it's a great season to get into gardening. I could go on and on about how cool plants are, repeating myself at length and listing the many benefits of having and taking care of plants, but frankly, I'm just grateful I get to listen to a bunch of animal people go on their barking on their points while I'm out trimming and weeding and what have you. Y'all are cool, and I love building up our psychic damage resistance together.
Aw.
Aw.
I actually got an herb kit in the mail today. Yeah.
Herb kit in the mail.
Yes. I basically got a bunch of stuff for gardening. I finally have, I guess, the agency and ability to get plants.
Nice.
Beyond the seeds I can send you.
Yeah. Well, between the seeds that you have sent me and a few seeds that I've picked up myself, I have I got myself a nice plant for my new coffee table, and I got myself a series of herbs: cilantro, rosemary, thyme, mint. I know.
I mean, those are the standards, and they're very good.
And basil and oregano. Those are the last ones. And I'm very excited about all of those. Except for mint, which I don't know what to do with outside of witchcraft.
Mint? Well, okay, first of all, never plant mint in the ground.
Uh-huh.
Because it spreads by these like root spreaders, and they will just crowd out and just spread into like a colony and strangle everything out. So you want to mint, grow that in a container.
Okay, I will keep the mint in a container. I will keep the mint separate from the other herbs. The bastard. You don't taste good in toothpaste and you don't taste good in dessert. What good are you for?
Drinks.
I guess, but I don't drink.
Well, that's the thing. You're either going to be using it for drinks and candy making or herbal medicine stuff.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be using it for that for the second one, and I guess to stare at bitterly and going, "You could have been cilantro."
Well, see, I have fortunately cilantro tastes like crap to me.
Uh-huh.
I don't get to enjoy it. All I get is the astringency and none of the citrus.
I get
love that soap flavor.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
I am growing my own cilantro. I got that separately, but I'm also planning on growing tomatoes and peppers in the backyard. I want to grow more sorts of peppers. I just want to grow every sort of pepper I can think of because I use peppers in a lot of my cooking.
Well, do you know what kind of peppers are you thinking? Like the bell pepper, jalapeno?
The two peppers that I got right now are jalapeno and poblano, because those are what was at Lowe's.
Hey, fair.
You can't go wrong with just like any jalapeno, honestly.
Oh no, absolutely. And those are peppers that I know I can use, especially since I got like a cookbook recently. Which is very good. And I will try to recommend it to you once I remember the name. But I was looking at all the peppers and stuff, and I was like, I can at least ensure that I can get an access to some of these peppers more often than not. But I think the eventual goal is to be able to grow the parts for my own salsa and can it.
Nice.
So maybe I can send it to people. Yeah,
Delightful.
Yes,
and you can give it its own creative name.
Yeah.
It'll be wonderful.
Sahoni salsa.
I think that's perfect.
Because I'm not straight.
Sahoni's Ragtime Happy Chunks.
Satan's
you're not gonna be on the reboot of Mad Men.
I like it, but it's not us. It's not Sahoni.
Yeah, I am growing habaneros as well, though. So, yeah.
Nice.
I want to grow some chipotle, but I couldn't find any seeds.
Chipotle is what you do to how you process the pepper.
I thought there was a pepper called chipotle.
That you just take a you just take a jalapeno and
I've heard that, but I've also heard that they're like ancho and stuff goes into it.
It's not like you don't grow a chipotle pepper, you chipotle a pepper.
Fair.
I think, if I recall correctly.
I got conflicting information when I asked a friend. On
okay,
that one.
I hopefully have not added to this conflict.
No, you 100% have, and it's fine. I'll figure it out.
It's okay, you've made it more confusing, but I was planning on that happening.
I might be wrong in that they might use a specific cultivar.
It is,
but I think it is something that is done to the peppers.
No, I think you're right because that's the one I got more often. But again, I've gotten very conflicting information on this, and I think it's one of those food things where it's just everyone has their own way.
Well, here's the thing
Yep.
with plant info on the internet generally is you're not always going to find consistency. Like,
Yeah.
even basic stuff like USDA zones, which should be easy to cross-check, those often will be completely different listings depending on who you ask.
Oh, God.
I mean, and even then you can kind of mess with those numbers depending on if you have like a brick wall that has a lot of sunlight exposure, you can push zones up and down that way. But like, it's really hard to get consistent info on plants sometimes, and there's not like...
Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about zones.
Yeah. So, well, let's go to our next message from Takel. As I write this, I am one of dozens of people in Final Fantasy XIV crowded around a single grass raptor that, due to a pathing bug, has become immortal. All hail Blue Catcher Jr.
All hail!
All hail.
All hail. I think it is so underplayed.
What, Final Fantasy XIV?
No.
Axel, I'm gonna start saying I'm done. I think it is under. It is not talked about as much. The sort of organic human moments that happen in MMOs, which I
Yes.
think are the real reasons why people like to keep playing them. And it's stuff like this, right? Where like a glitch happens, or there's just like some interesting set of systems that are hitting up against each other in a way that wasn't planned on. And like
the
if
plague
you're there,
thing.
you were just there, right? It's like it's like being there when like a fight breaks out on the subway.
Yes.
or you see like the wildest car drive down the street, and it's like just for that moment you have this like collective feeling with the people around you, like, did we all experience this? Are we experiencing this at the same time? Yes, we are. Good.
Well, I think that's
It's the beauty and the ephemerality of it.
Sure, and I think that's
Yeah.
the main appeal specifically of theme park MMOs, which FF14 very much is one of those. And I think
Can you actually explain theme park MMO just because for audience? I mean,
Okay.
just to...
So there's kind of two schools of MMO design thought. And one of them is I watch this because I know this specifically because I used to watch a YouTuber that had a series called Death of an MMO, where he would talk about how an MMO died, which is very interesting a lot of the time. But there are two major schools of thought. There is kind of this there's content focused versus theme
Experience?
park focus. Which the content focus thing, and I'm gonna go ahead and point this out now. Most MMOs have a bit of both.
Yeah.
And just because it's good design and you're casting a wider net here.
Would it perhaps be a spectrum almost?
Yeah, I would say it is, but to what degree it is, I think is going to depend on MMO developers, and I'm not one of them. But
well, I mean, you're viewing it from the outside here, so...
Absolutely, and so the content ones are very much kind of level up and sort of meta builds and all of those sort of things.
PvP focus, perhaps?
Yeah, a lot of PvP focused stuff tends to fall into this. It's very much hard mechanical content deals.
Yep.
And the other side of it, the theme park one, is funky, weird things to do in a setting together. Like this can be dungeons or raids and stuff too, but it can be mini games, it can be events, it can be stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean,
And
like the
self-directed stuff, it sounds
Yes.
like, too.
yeah, like the farthest side of like the theme park thing is kind of
Toontown?
your Toontown, or
Yeah,
even like your
yes.
Second Life, especially with people building curated spaces. And like The other side is like EVE Online,
Yes.
where it's just like it's all just hard data, but it's an MMO. It is an MMO.
Oh, I mean, you're right. It's just funny.
Yeah, but that is pretty much the two sides of the spectrum here, and most MMOs fall somewhere in that. But I do think that's a grand part of the appeal of theme park MMOs is kind of having those community moments. It is a big part of why I haven't latched onto an MMO in a long time, because I find a lot of MMO communities lacking, and so much of that is just I don't have people to play with.
Yeah, that's fair. I also end up in that space where like I have tried a lot of MMOs, and the grand number of MMOs I've stuck with for longer than a month have been 2. One of them, the recent one, was Warframe, and the other one, which was when I was a teenager, was City of Heroes. So like big old gap in between there.
I got real deep into EverQuest.
Oh man, my brother and I tried to get into that as a kid, and we actually had to get a PC for that because our family was always Mac users, so we didn't get to play many games on computer. And we tried playing it, and then the power supply to the PC exploded, and we just ended up not bothering to try again.
You were denied by the computer itself. It said absolutely not, children.
Maybe that's...
Yeah, well, no, even then, when we played it, we were like, how does the combat work in this? And we were like, wait, this sucks. This isn't fun. This is just, you fighting rats and missing, and it's not about how well you try to swing the sword. It's just back and forth, like, at predetermined pauses. It was just, oh, this sucks.
Well, for me, it was the excitement of the idea of a role playing, of being of imagination there. Though I did learn the term death train.
Ooh. Death train, you say?
Yeah, that's when in EverQuest specifically, a lot of MMOs, but especially EverQuest, you would aggro a whole crowds of enemies, and they would just keep chasing you, and they would form a line of just computer breaking death and polygons called the death train, because they would all form a line.
I love that defragmenting conga.
Yeah.
Like,
well, there's also the case that everybody always quotes about this kind of thing, which was the plague one, where someone intentionally spread this plague to a city in the MMO.
Yeah, that's World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft,
yeah. And Viral,
like that's the one that usually people that's the big reference to, like this kind of ephemeral mono no aware of,
that one
of
also
internet.
That one also is really one that gets brought up a lot because it has been used in
research.
In research for like pathogens and the spread of diseases, because
exactly.
it's somehow the only, not somehow, it is the only ethical way to simulate a disease in an actual living community.
Well, yeah, like how do people psychologically try to deal with this, without necessarily being told that they're in an exercise? So it's like almost like, oh wait, we actually got to see in the wild how a society tried to deal with it. Crazy.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway, and before we move off of this, speaking of that video series you were bringing up, Sahoni, there's another video series I've been watching recently, which is from Means TV, and it is, I believe it's called Preserving Worlds. Preserving Worlds, which is the same sort of thing. It's they do interviews with people who are working to archive dying MMOs.
Interesting.
Like the first one is this thing called like World Chat, and they talk about there was like one that's just like, I don't know. Anyway, it is an interesting one to go in and look at, because it is just mostly straight up interviews with video of the sort of games, and talking about the real important, like, personal reasons why these are worth both cataloging and archiving, also why people used them and maybe even still come to use them. It's neat. I've enjoyed it. Anyway.
Okay, so let's do our final message for this episode from New Dark Cloud. Just a friendly reminder to get your vaccines if you are able to. Quote, herd immunity, end quote, got a bad rap because of how right-wingers misappropriated the term, but it's a sound medical theory that has eliminated many dangerous diseases before.
Yeah, last week I wasn't on the show, or our last recording, because I was getting my second shot.
And fantastic. I got my first shot this past Monday, so
Yeah.
It's neat having that sort of like date on my calendar now of like, this is when I will be immune, because I know when my second
Ostensibly.
shot is, and then 2 weeks after.
Mm-hmm.
No, not the second shot. The 2 weeks after the second shot, right?
Oh, okay, gotcha.
The actual date in which I will be like, here at this
Okay.
exact moment, I will a stress will leave my body.
Mine is on the 22nd, so I'm waiting for that.
Oh, just like 6 more days? Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
And Axel, you just booked your first one.
Yeah, I just booked my first one, so that'll be done with.
Good.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I mean, it's going to be an adventure watching things trying to kind of reopen, and I'm still not exactly, like, happy that certain things are trying to reopen this early already, but
Yeah.
that's just me.
I mean, I don't understand how gyms at all are open.
I don't
I just don't. It's the worst.
The area where you're breathing hot, sweaty breath, yeah, possibly a bad place for a droplet based.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway, well, thank you all for the messages, and even if you do not have a message sent, we still read out your name and include it in the show notes as a sponsor and collaborator. So thank you to Koki Tenno, Lance Leaghani, LF, Linear Screw, Mad Monk, Midori Switchhound, New Dark Cloud, Nick, Nuzzly Fuzzly, Torsten Peel of the Satanic Temple, Philly Poo, Ray Moonwolf, and Satorui. So
Thank you.
Thank you as always. We also have on the Patreon Barking Bits. So these are questions, challenges, comments, things you want us to possibly do dramatic readings of, or stories that you think might be fun, either as a funny story or as one you would like us to investigate for a main topic. So we got from Corvus Atrox. Based on Sahoni's commentary from the last episode, I'd be interested in hearing some more B-movie recommendations.
Okay. Well.
And not the B-movie.
Yes, not the
Never
B-movie.
the B-movie.
Not the B-movie.
Never.
It's fine.
What about it is fine?
Yeah, as I have said before, I very much like Death Machines. There's a scene with a man who looks like the Gordon Fisherman, and there's a zombie that snipes a man with a rocket launcher. It's a great time. There are, of course, very much classics like Miami Connection, which is very fun and has a great soundtrack.
Have you ever watched Chopping Mall?
Yes, I have, actually.
Because I think that would possibly fit.
Okay, like, Chopping Mall is very much, like, that's at the top of, like, if we're looking at this as, like, a stratified atmosphere, like, ocean depths, that's floating at the top of the B-movies. Below that, you have something like Death Spa.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
fun.
okay, yeah, I know of. I haven't watched that one, but I've listened to things about it, yes.
There's things like, I feel like you're always in for a good time if you watch a children's movie from the VHS boom. Especially if it's like a Canadian children's movie, I recommend Shapeshifter.
What is it about the Canadian ones that in
Because,
particular
less budget.
Yeah.
Okay, so like the fact that they have more constraints force them to be even more creative in weird ways.
Yeah, I mean, also
Like British television used to be.
it's also like just the weirdness of Canada has to manifest onto film.
Yeah, there's a sort of like beautiful thing that happens with B movies where it's like, yeah, it's low budget, but also it's like a lot of people who, at least some people, like really fucking are feeling it.
Yeah, for sure.
And you want that to like pop in there.
That is absolutely what you want. Like, don't get me wrong, I love me a hard ticket to Hawaii, where there are some people who just aren't trying, and there's just a giant killer snake, and someone blows up a blow-up doll, and another person kills someone else with a frisbee. But like, I feel like there has to be some level of genuineness for it to really hit that sweet spot.
Yes.
It has to have tried to be good.
Like, Birdemic is a very popular suggestion for that reason. Like, the person who made this film very much believed in Birdemic.
Yeah.
They believed in their very genuine message about global warming.
They tried. I mean, it's one of those things where like snakes on a plane could never work because it was like catching a dead fish.
Yeah, no, that's why Sharknado is bad.
Yeah, well, all that stuff is where it's trying to be that and it can never be that because it tried to be it.
Yeah, like the thing about like a solid B movie experience is it kind of falls in the same realm of like a solid like camp experience in like the sort of like the aesthetic style. You either have to be so incredibly embedded in it that you can reproduce it, or you have to stumble your way into it.
Yes. I showed
Détournement.
I showed a friend of mine recently the movie Solar Babies. Which is it's one of my personal favorite B-movie genres. Well, two of them actually, and they met, which is the future that is also the 80s. Yep. And roller skate apocalypse.
Oh, good.
Yeah. It was funded by Mel Brooks's like I think it was funded by him. He had nothing to do with it. Like, someone came in and told him the pitch for the movie, and he gave them the money to make Solar Babies. It is, it's got a lot of things I really like that thing in sci-fi movies where they try to make something sound sci-fi by adding the word E to it, or like so they have the E-pigs. Where they're referring to the police. It's got God. Like Ghost Rider. It's got like a proto Bulk and Skull, and a lot of places.
It's VR Troopers.
Like a lot of places that look like the Rainforest Cafe. It's great. I'm so full of these. I could keep going all day. I could tell you about The Age of the Hobbits.
Have you? Okay, there's this one that I don't think I found it like a long time ago randomly, and it was called Doggy Bee, and it is a movie about competitive dog dancing, except it's possibly has like one of the most deranged like art direction designs. I mean, it has a car that's made out of pencils and pens. Like, literally, it's a car that its entire thing is just covered in them, and it's never explained.
I think I've seen this
in any reason. It has the phrase "dogaroids" in it because, oh my God, the villain, they're using dog dancing steroids. Dogaroids!
Yeah, I think I have seen this one.
Yes. Sorry. Please give it the full title that it deserves. Was this Doggy Boogie?
It was just called Doggy Bee.
Okay, Doggy Bee, also called. It is called both, actually.
The version we saw, it had the cover where it was the dog that had like headphones, like he looked like he was like a DJ, and that dog does not show up in it. Never dressed, nothing like that cover at all. So like, yeah.
Also, the full title is Doggy Boogie, Get Your Grr On.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. Have you guys seen Dancin' It's On? This
I don't think so.
This got a theatrical release. Dancin'. It's on.
I'm just amazed that anyone else saw this damn thing.
Yeah,
because it was nuts, right?
Yeah, it absolutely is. Dancin' It's On is a movie directed by David Winters.
Who also is in it?
Yes. If you don't know who David Winters is, he's like one of the big dancing people behind West Side Story.
Oh, yep.
So he was the choreographer?
Yeah.
Yes.
And he it stars like two people from like Dancing with the Stars and So You Think You Can Dance. And it is about like a rich girl who falls in who oh my, I'm trying to recall the story because it's just that just unhinged. There's a Vietnam War flashback in it for no reason.
Oh, sure.
But basically it's a Romeo and Juliet story but with dancing. Except like one of them's poor and one of them's rich, and
oh, so that's like
yeah.
I went and looked up David Winters because he had and I looked at what he had directed. I want to tell you, so few of the things he directed were dance films. Here's one from 1986 called Thrashin', also known as Skate Gang or Challenge to Win: Thrashin', which was an American skater drama film. It starred Josh Brolin.
God, I have to point out that that David Winters is not he is not a stranger to B movies. He was a producer for Space Mutiny with the movie.
Yeah, he also directed it.
Yeah, he was the director for Space Mutiny, the MST3K episode with Reb Brown.
Yes.
It's oh my god. It's very good. If you've never seen the Mystery Science Theater episode of
yeah. This is fucking Big McLarge huge.
Yeah, it is. Slab truck beef.
Stomp beef knob.
Yeah, just all of those just
classic names.
Yeah, very classic names. I very much recommend Dancin' It's On.
Yeah, that just sounds
yeah.
great. I was trying to think of B movies, just like throw in as we're talking. The only one I can think of that was like an actual enjoyable time was one of the lesser Baldwins was in a movie called Sharks in Venice. Which is exactly what you think it is. But what I love the most is that they only got about 10 seconds of sharks swimming in the water video, so they just keep reusing the same 4 clips.
Oh, I love it.
I hope they tried to flip it horizontally to mask it at one point.
They did. Not even lying. It's
I mean, to be fair, that's the only move you have.
I've never watched a man like a muscular masculine person act with their tits as much as this Baldwin does. Like, I was like, oh, okay, sure. Just like watch subpar movies because it's always full of human elements.
Yes.
In a way that you won't find elsewhere.
And remember, the optimal way to watch these movies is alone in a darkened room.
That's the opposite of how you're supposed to watch them.
Yeah.
That's the joy.
I'm gonna watch Sextet with everyone. What are you talking about?
Even better if I do the song theme for Hiroshima in the background too. Really gives you the proper priming for these films.
Yeah, my favorite B movie, Koyaanisqatsi.
So, let's go to our next barking bit from Six Arm Sweater. Barking Points crew, I propose a game called Let Sahoni Speak. Each host will need a bottle of hot sauce, a shot glass. Each time a host interrupts or speaks over Sahoni, they must add a drop of hot sauce to their glass. Once the episode's done, bottoms up.
I'm the big dog. I'm the one on the stool.
Joke's on you, Sahoni. I love drinking hot sauce.
To be fair, we are not in the same room and we can't really see each other, so
It's true.
it's also the delays
Yeah.
are a big thing.
There are certain unfortunate things that happen with doing digital recording, but also as someone who was a sort of serial interrupter for most of my life, being a hyperactive kid that didn't get the attention I needed for that. It is good to be reminded that in general, to sort of like leave the floor until what feels like a more natural one, or at least ask if someone is done, and then like beyond that, like it's I take the call out.
Yeah, critique taken.
Yeah.
But in our defense, digitally, to do no interruptions is impossible.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, and to be fair, I do my share of interrupting as well.
yeah. That's why it's impossible with this medium. So I mean, that's why when someone interrupts me, I don't care personally. I mean, I know it could bother other people, but I myself have gotten used to it because I'm just used to the way this format works.
Yeah. I know.
So-
Sometimes all I wish is there was just like a button I could push that would just like pop up, basically a little hand raise,
Yeah.
like an order of talking, especially on like outside of this, just on large calls that I've been on before, where it's just like we need a fucking talking stick.
Yeah, it's just, God, if only I had like the Jeopardy podium that tells me, who buzzed in first.
Yes. Yeah, just like put numbers and then
Doo-doo.
Fucking, you went too early. Now you're locked out.
So, next one is from Oxley. Twitter fucking sucks, and I'd like to spend a lot less time on it. That said, it's where I get a lot of my news because a lot of both mainstream and left-leaning media outlets use it as a platform. What other specific non-Twitter and non-Facebook outlets/sources would you recommend for keeping up on current events, especially from a more progressive perspective that might not be covered by mainstream/centrist media?
So, if I may jump in here first.
Go ahead.
I think one of the best things you can do in this regard is to get some kind of like feed reader or RSS reader that you can subscribe to websites, like news websites as they update. So you can just have, I hate to like say get another app, but there are many that do this, and you can load in news sources from wherever you want, usually just with like the website link. And then you will have something that is just giving you news stories, and you can usually just go to the websites you want, so that way you are curating your experience, but you get out of the whole like it's a mile a minute, and in between the news articles you have people getting mad over both very significant and super insignificant things. So I think that's beyond any specific news site that we may suggest. I think the best thing you can do is use a sort